It's time for another episode of Tucson Means Business, featuring Tucson's top entrepreneurs and leaders in the business world. And now your host, Mark Bishop.
And welcome to another Tucson Means Business, proudly sponsored by the 49ers Golf and Country Club, east of Tucson on Tanque Verde Road, and broadcast normally from the Tucson Business RadioX studios in the corporate headquarters at Stewart Title and Trust on Broadway. But of course, what with all of the everything that's going on at the moment, we're doing this by phone, and I certainly appreciate my guest. And my guest is someone very special who I've had dealings with in the past, interviews on radio, and now through this podcast. And I'm referring to Lea Marquez-Peterson. Good morning, Lea.
Good morning, Mark.
You are an adventurous young lady, and as I'm going to share in this wonderful story with you, all your background and things you're doing, but of course now, chairwoman of the Arizona Corporate Commission. Heck of a job, a lot to do, and we're going to get into that. So I appreciate your time you've given us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invitation.
Well, now that you've been elected chair of the ACC, what are your goals?
Well, if I could just take a moment and explain what is the Arizona Corporation Commission, because I know, having campaigned around the state and spoken to a lot of groups, most people have heard of us but don't really have a clear understanding of the breadth of the work that we do. The Corporation Commission actually regulates the utility industry, so private and investor-owned electricity, water, gas, and wastewater companies throughout the whole state. We handle railroad and pipeline safety. We incorporate every business in the state, so that's interacting with a lot of different folks interested in starting businesses. And then we tackle securities fraud. So it's really a diverse list of items that we handle, a lot of it related to infrastructure. So I'm very proud to serve. I've been on the commission since May of 2019 when the governor appointed me, and then ran and won a statewide election just this last November, and then campaigned to be the chairperson of the commission among my 5 commissioners, and was blessed to be able to get majority support. And now I'm leading the commission in terms of what direction we go, specifically related to energy rules and transparency, and really making sure the public can weigh in and engage more with the commission. So very excited about my work over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and we're going to go into that a little bit more, if we may, because there's a lot involved. You are really the first Hispanic woman to serve in a statewide seat in the history of Arizona. It must make you feel proud. Huh?
It does, but a little shocking. I mean, by 2019, when I was appointed by the governor, I was told that I was the first Latina, first Hispanic woman ever statewide, and thought, how could this be in 2019? But then being elected, I was elected, as well as was Ana Tovar. So we are now both the first Latinas elected statewide. But it really is quite an honor, and I hope I serve as a role model to others that are considering running for office or curious how I landed in this spot, and maybe create aspirations for them to also serve in the public in the future.
You received your MBA from Pepperdine University and your bachelor's in entrepreneurship and marketing from the University of Arizona. Lea Marquez-Peterson, appointed to the Arizona Corporate Commission by Governor Doug Ducey. This was back in, May 2019. And she was elected statewide to serve a 4-year term. So, it's a big thing. You've been an entrepreneur in our community here in Tucson for many, many years, served as the president, CEO of the Tucson Hispanic Chamber from, 2009 until November 2018. That's a long time. It must have been a heck of a challenge for you.
Yeah, I so enjoyed my time at the chamber. Having been a small business owner in Tucson, and my parents and my grandparents in Southern Arizona, my brother's an entrepreneur, so it's definitely in the blood. When I took the role at the Tucson Hispanic Chamber, we were small. We had about 300 members. We were really trying to rebuild the chamber at that point. And over the next 8 years, it really took off. I was able to recruit a great team around me and a really strong board of directors. And we focused on reaching businesses throughout all of southern Arizona and northern Mexico, actually in Sonora, Mexico, the state closest to us.
Mm-hmm.
And when I left, we had about 1,800 members and a strategic partnership with the Arizona Chamber of Commerce in Phoenix, and had done a lot of advocacy work. And I hope really help grow the small business community in southern Arizona. So I'm very proud of the work I did there and really enjoyed it.
That's good. Yeah, you've got a reputation as a get-it-done lady. An ambitious young lady to boot, I might add. You ran for Congress in Arizona Congressional District 2 back in 2018. You won a competitive primary race, though you lost the general election. How did that affect you overall?
I was disappointed, certainly, and it takes a lot of work to run. I'd never run for office before, though I had, strangely enough, counseled people in our own Chamber of Commerce campaign school that we hosted for about 5 years, and actually I helped facilitate. So I knew a lot of people and had been involved in lots of campaigns in southern Arizona, but to run yourself was a whole different angle. I had advisors, political advisors, media people. I mean, you're really almost launching another company when you run for a federal office. And I had to raise a lot of money to be on TV and radio and have the funding. No. So, but I enjoyed it. I really appreciated being able to get out and talk to people throughout CD2, which is primarily Cochise County and half of Pima County. But I talked to people in all corners of that district on what their priorities were. We had some pretty contentious issues, as we still do, related to immigration and the border and the economy and taxation and things like that. I was very passionate about and still am, and really appreciated being able to win the primary race. And then unfortunately lost the general election. So was disappointed, but it was a great life experience.
I'm not going to go down the road of the political side of it, okay? I'm going to leave you free on that.
No problem.
The Greater Tucson Leadership, the old GTL, they had you as their executive director from 2005 to 9. And that was a very busy entrepreneurial time for you. Savvy business knowledge that you had to bring that to the table. Owning and operating a business brokerage firm. You had a chain of 6 gasoline stations, stroke convenience stores. That would have been a heck of a knowledge learning, I tell you. 50 employees at one stage, right? What was your biggest takeaway from all of that?
Well, I think my biggest takeaway, especially from the gas station ownership, was how challenging it is to have employees. I mean, you've got so many families you're responsible for. Retail business is tough. Gas stations, as you're probably aware, are open 24/7, and I had them all over our community. So we would have people not show up for shifts, or people having their own family issues and having to cover shifts. The employee issue, I think any small business owner listening will agree with me that that's probably the toughest part.
Yep.
I really love the convenience store industry. I know that sounds strange, but with my marketing background and entrepreneurial background, so interesting, and still love to talk about gas stations and convenience stores. But it was the challenge of having so many employees and not having enough cash flow to have a large organizational chart, right? It was me and my husband as the owners, and then we had station managers and then all the employees. So it's not like you've got HR departments and finance departments and things like that in a small business.
No.
That was probably the toughest part.
Yeah, a lot of effort. Well, those golden years, you look back, they were 98 to 2005.
Yeah.
Has it changed, in your opinion, has it changed much now, do you think, in the Tucson region?
I think the business community is very cyclical. So back in those days when I was building gas stations and buying locations, financing was much easier to come by, a lot easier to acquire a loan. We had an SBA loan and solicited venture capital for that to build our first gas station at Grant and Stone, and then continue to build stations at Oracle and Prince. And we were the first ARCO AM/PM franchisee at 22nd and Country Club. But if you look at kind of the cycle, we then went through the 2008-2009 crisis. Things had started to pick up again, and here we are again in the pandemic. So I think it's very challenging now. So much use of the internet, the way we do business has entirely changed. So it's very different from when I was in the gas station industry, decades ago.
From my understanding, Lea, the Arizona Corporate Commission's primary duty is to regulate the state's utility services. I'm talking about electricity, water, gas, and wastewater. And of course, you touched on those other areas too, but this is to ensure that we have safe, reliable, and affordable energy. This is critical. So that's spot on so far, right?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And it's even more of a, it's always so important and such a priority, but I think it's top of mind for more people with the energy crisis recently in Texas and the heat wave and energy crisis California faced this past summer.
Well, in addition to that, we're talking about, having to regulate utilities, incorporating all businesses in the state of Arizona. We're talking about railroad, pipeline safety, and securities fraud. Break those down for me, if you'd be so kind. Explain what would be involved with each of those.
Separate from the energy work we do, the railroad and pipeline safety is really about railroad crossings. Imagine as I'm traveling around the state, I'm meeting with mayors and city council and community members, and some of their top concerns are around small water companies, certainly in their communities, but also railroad crossings because the proximity to a school or the safety of the families in their towns. A lot of conversations there. Specific to incorporating businesses, as a former Chamber of Commerce president, I've worked with many hundreds of businesses who have gotten started or come to the state to get started. And so we have tried to streamline and make it as easy as possible for businesses to get going in Arizona. So they go simply to our website. You can actually get expedited services by paying a fee and get incorporated within one day. So that's much easier. We still have work to do, though, because the state is focusing on a one-stop business portal, which I fully support, want to lend any of our support from the Corporation Commission, because right now you have to go to multiple websites to get your tax license, your trade name, and then, of course, to us for incorporating. So one-stop business portal is key. And then lastly, the securities fraud. It's unfortunate that bad people come to the state to take advantage of primarily, everybody, but primarily our senior community. So we are seeing many cases like this every month where folks have come to sell, fake gold mines in different countries or some kind of internet scam. And so we prosecute them and work with the Attorney General's office for criminal prosecution.
Wow. The commission, it's an elected board comprising of 5 members. Is that right?
Yes.
And each member is elected statewide, serves a 4-year term. How is the board elected, and what areas do they come from or represent?
Yeah, that's a great question. And anybody can run for the Corporation Commission, so there's not necessarily qualifications. I myself have not worked in the energy industry, so I had a sharp learning curve when I was first appointed, and then now feeling much more comfortable now that it's been almost 2 years on the commission. Typically, people have in the past been former state legislators who are aware of the work we do at the commission, and most of them are from Maricopa County. I'm the only commissioner serving now that's from outside Maricopa County. I live in Tucson, Pima County. And I think that brings me an interesting perspective. Also, having been a small business owner and worked in our rural communities, Cochise, Santa Cruz, and Yuma County and others, and Pinal County, I'm more probably sensitive or I have more of a focus on issues that impact rural Arizona. And I think that's been pretty helpful at the commission too.
Right. Nice fresh approach to it, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
How does the role of the ACC impact families, particularly in southern Arizona?
Yeah, it impacts so many families. And that's why it's important for me to get out and educate folks on the work we do. If you think in southern Arizona, most of the families here use Tucson Electric Power or Trico or Sulphur Springs Co-op. It depends where they're located. But these are monopolistic industries. So if when you moved into your home, you didn't get a choice on the electricity company or the water company. So if it's private and investor owned, we regulate them. We make sure they're making the proper capital investment to ensure reliability, so we don't turn out like Texas did in the past. We're also for water companies, we do not regulate Tucson Water. That's run by the mayor and council because it's owned by the city of Tucson. But the other water companies, smaller ones surrounding the Tucson area, we regulate, make sure it's clean, quality water, affordable water. Southwest Gas, we regulate. So if you have gas to your home, that's an area in which we're very involved. So we're really impacting, almost all the families in the entire state, but most of them don't realize our work or what we're doing. So I've really made it my mission as a chairwoman to make sure we have more public comment sessions. Our website is streamlined so it's more transparent. And that I'm doing as much educational outreach and my fellow commissioners as much as we can so that folks in all corners of the state know about the work we're doing and how it's impacting their family.
Yeah, great job. Now, folks, this is Tucson Means Business on Tucson Business RadioX, the business channel of Tucson. Mark Bishop, I'm your host. Our very special sponsors and loyal sponsors are that of the 49ers Golf and Country Club. We're going to take this message and we'll be right back. Tucson Means Business is proudly sponsored by the 49ers Golf and Country Club. They're at 12,000 Tanque Verde Road. If you're not in Tucson, somewhere around the world, but visiting, sometime you may get here, please go to the 49ers, even if you don't play golf, because there are wonderful things to do, like eat at the fabulous Rincon Grill restaurant. And then there's the fitness center, brand new with everything that you need. Isn't that right, Casey?
That's right, Mark.
I'm speaking with the director of memberships and tournaments and sales. He's just about chief cook and bottle washer, but he can tell us all about this wonderful fitness club. It's only brand new, really.
Yeah, it's kind of funny you say that. We're really proud of the way that we keep it looking brand new, but it's already 5 years old, that building.
Is it really?
Yep. But
God, you'd never know that.
We upkeep it. We keep it looking good, looking fresh, smelling good. We try to keep the equipment maintained. That's important for people that are coming to a gym. They want to use clean, fresh, well-working equipment.
My word, they do. And one of the important things, I think, with this fitness club is that it's not your traditional. I mean, you've got locals coming to it from right across town. There are lots of different separate type events on, aren't there? From fitness type, I can't remember them all, but the lady that runs it does a fabulous job.
Great job.
In fact, there's a few of them get together and create all these different sort of sequences.
They do. They've got a lot of different group fitness classes is kind of what we, I want to say it's kind of a niche market, really. There is lots of gym offerings around, obviously.
Sure.
You got your big box store kind of fitness centers that are, they have hundreds of pieces of equipment. They've got, classes that are scheduled and routine, where ours are unique. You get to know the instructors really well. They're your friends, and then when you don't show
personal
up,
care of you, yeah.
They do, when you don't show up to class, they text you and find out, hey,
you okay?
How come you're not there?
That's a nice idea.
It is. So
from yoga through to boombox this or that, I mean, they do it all.
There is. We offer a little bit of everything. We even, we have kids dance classes. We even have a woman teaching ballroom dance classes right now. On Wednesday nights right now, we have goat yoga, where you have these little pygmy goats. They dress them up in tutus and they walk on your back. I don't get it, but apparently it's all the rage. So.
Can you imagine that? Dressed up in a tutu, walking on your back. But that's a goat. Oh, it sounds like a lot of fun indeed. And of course, the one other area is the pool.
Yep, the pool. We have a 5-lane Junior Olympic-sized heated year-round pool, which it's tough to find heated water in Tucson in the winter, believe it or not. But we maintain it. We have a youth program that swims year-round. We've also got aqua classes right now on Mondays. We offer them. The pool's just been really a great resource for the club and its members.
That's fabulous. So there you go. You get a really good picture, don't you? But go to the website and, Casey, that address again.
Website is 49ercc.com. It's all spelled out. FORTYNINERCC.com.
You did a good job, man.
Hey, thanks.
Casey Poluvchak, lovely fellow. Talk to him personally about anything, memberships, the club, whatever you want to do. He's the director of memberships and tournaments at the infamous, which is the hidden jewel of the desert, at the 49ers Golf and Country Club. Proudly bringing us Tucson Means Business. I'm speaking with Lea Marquez-Peterson, who is the chairwoman of the Arizona Corporate Commission. What a job. Talk about both hands, juggling. Tell me, Lea, how has your experience owning small businesses, or in fact going back for 9 years of the Hispanic Chamber, how has that impacted your work at the ACC?
I think that's a really good question. as a small business owner, I think when I got involved with the Corporation Commission, May of 2019, I immediately was pulled towards the small water companies that we regulate. We regulate the water industry, private investor owned, and that's more than 300 companies in the state of Arizona. But most people don't realize is the majority of those, 200 plus, are small mom and pop water companies operating in every corner of the state. As I got more and more involved, I realized that we had a lot of inefficiencies. There weren't streamlined rate cases. We often lost communication with the small water company operator. We had many agencies at the table engaging with them, but we weren't always coordinating. So I started a small water company task force, I guess you can call it, meetings we're having with different agencies and small water company management companies and lots of different folks at the table to figure out what would be the best process to make this streamlined and better serve the customers that are served by these small water companies. And so we're still in the process of that. We actually have a lot of content that we'll be discussing at our upcoming commission meeting on March 23rd. So excited to really dive in and make some improvements there. And I think I've been particularly interested there because I can relate to the small water company operator as a former small business owner myself. That, and then certainly incorporating businesses, which is a major role of the commission. Done that a lot myself. I've struggled with the website or different issues. And so being a sounding board for even former chamber members who reach out to me if they're having any trouble or others, I want to make sure that's really streamlined because this could have a great economic impact on Arizona. We need to make it easy to do business in our state.
Yeah, and all of that combines, of course, comes down the funnel to where it just makes it easier for all these companies that we're approaching to come here and create jobs. They want things streamlined. They want things easy. They don't want any hassles, do they?
No, exactly. They also want clean energy, and a lot of them are choosing Arizona because of, our solar industry and our energy market. So that's been particularly important in an area I've been working quite a bit in energy rules for the state of Arizona.
So tell me, your job, your role, it would take you all over the place, right?
Absolutely. So we aren't by district. So I represent the entire state and make sure that I'm out and about traveling and meeting with folks.
That's a big job. How do you balance your work, with family and living in Tucson if you've got to go to Phoenix all the time and other areas?
Yeah, that's a good question. I tend to be in Phoenix probably 2 days a week. With the pandemic, as everyone knows, Zoom and WebEx have become so much more available and useful, and people are used to using them now since the pandemic. So I can Zoom into different corners of the state without having to do the drive. But I have put lots and lots of miles on my car, I'll tell you.
Mate, I'll be glad when it's all over because I miss the elbow to elbow touching the flesh and also eyeball to eyeball, don't you?
Yeah, me too. Me too.
What do you think, Lea, has influenced the way in which you make decisions and your priorities as commissioner?
I hope that people who've worked with me in the past in whatever role I've had see me as really solution based. I try not to get drugged down by all the politics and the craziness of all of that, and just really focus on how do we serve the ratepayers, how do we serve the people of Arizona, and what's the solution? What's realistic that we can get there? How to make it affordability the priority of that decision. So I try to get things done, and that's I think what. The direction I've been taking at the commission also.
Yeah, well, I opened this interview with that. You're getting a reputation as not the Iron Lady per se, but the woman that gets things done.
Good.
Now, the commission, we've touched on this before because it's such an important topic. We're talking energy. You've been working very hard on Arizona's energy and the rules. For the layman, explain to me, what does that entail exactly?
Yeah, so I guess I'll back up and say the last time Arizona passed any type of energy rule was 2006 when they set a goal for renewable energy. And that lots of political fighting and very controversial at the time. Well, fast forward about 4 years ago, the commission, I think under the direction of Chairman Doug Little at the time, started their effort to create what is Arizona's energy future? What are our energy rules moving forward? So it's been 4 years of thousands of hours of public comment sessions and input and letters and debates and so on. And in December, this past December, the commission at the time voted on energy rules that would include 100% clean energy. So clean means nuclear energy and solar energy and wind and hydro and all different types of energy that we can get to 100% clean energy with zero carbon emissions. And there's a role for natural gas in that transition to zero carbon emissions. But what you can see is being impacted certainly are coal plants. And this is not just Arizona, this is nationally. We've got coal plants prioritized to close over the next decade, 10 to 15 years across the entire country. So that will certainly impact Arizona as we move forward. But there are a lot more details to the energy rules in terms of the planning process, the accountability that we bring to the table and ensure that our utilities are focused on reliability. How do we ensure it's the least cost option, the most affordable way to get to clean energy? And we did it in a way without stating the exact technology to get there, because I'll tell you, in the 2 years I've been serving, I've learned of so many new technologies and innovation that I'd never heard of before that can help us reach clean energy. So I didn't want it to be picking winners and losers now in terms of technology. We needed to be technology agnostic so that we kind of put the guardrails in place, and the utilities are headed that direction, and we can then embrace new innovation as they come forward. And I've heard of just so many great ideas, and we'll see what helps Arizona in the next 10, 20, 30 years reach that clean energy. You've also seen both Tucson Electric Power here, but also APS in Phoenix, Arizona Public Service Company. They've made their own commitments to clean energy and renewable energy and energy efficiencies. And so I think the market, the industries have completely turned around even in the last 5 years. And for me, clean energy commitment is really an economic development statement. This tells companies around the nation just how committed we are to clean energy. And you've got companies looking for states, like Amazon and Google and companies like that want states that are going to commit to clean energy. So I think it'll be great for attracting new business to the state of Arizona. Now the energy rules is pretty complex, and I could talk a couple hours about all the different pieces in it, but just to know that it's really setting what is Arizona's energy future, where do we want to be, and how do we want to impact carbon emissions by 2050.
Yeah, well, you brought it up when you said there are so many different new things coming up and so on. These are from private companies, third parties, and so on. But 2 years in the role, you had to build when you went into cooperative relationship with the state legislature. Do you feel you've done this?
I think it's still work in progress. I was very surprised when I was appointed in 2019 that we didn't have a stronger relationship with the state legislature at the Corporation Commission. As I mentioned previously, majority of the commissioners are former legislators. You would assume, they certainly know how it works over there, but maybe because I'm coming from the outside, not having ever served, it just seemed like a glaring challenge to me. So in running for chairwoman, that was one of the commitments I made, is I want to build a closer relationship with the governor's office, with the state legislature. It's been tough this last legislative session. There have been a number of bills that are currently pending as we speak that can impact the way we do business at the commission. But rather than support or oppose them, I've asked my fellow commissioners, and they've agreed to be neutral on this so that we can provide data and information to the legislature and ultimately work out what's the best result for the ratepayers. What makes sense in terms of how we're structured? Let's clarify it now is my focus on this, whether the courts have to get involved in the future and verify or whatever it may look like. So I'm still intent on building a better relationship between the state legislature and the commission.
Yeah, big job. As a matter of interest, are you the only female on the board?
No, surprisingly, we are a majority female for the first time ever. We've got Sandra Kennedy and Anna Tovad also serving with me. So 3 women, and the 2 men are Justin Olson and Jim O'Connor.
No wonder you're getting things done, huh?
That's right.
All right. I want to touch on just, what would be some of the issues that you would be, working with the government on? Now, I know you've talked on generics, but just give us one to,
Sure.
get our teeth into a little.
So it's things that overlap even beyond kind of the work at just the commission, that we absolutely need, I think, to coordinate with the governor's office and the state legislature. One would be the transition for these coal impacted communities. So Springerville, Four Corners, some of the areas that have coal plants, and we now know, and it's very public, what date they've either already closed at Four Corners or they're going to close, let's say in Springerville. What's the economic development plan? What's the transition? What financial responsibility or fiscal responsibility will different entities have to those communities? That's bigger than the commission. I think we absolutely need to work with governor and the state legislature on. Another issue is electric vehicles. We regulate that implementation, which means that we just heard news, what was it, a month ago, that General Motors is going to come out with some 40 other models of electric vehicles. So much, affordable models that that more people can take advantage of and own and enjoy. So we are working on a statewide roadmap that is a lot of the stakeholders for our commission are involved in. I think that this conversation around electric vehicles certainly can expand to include the state legislature. I mean, the governor's office is already involved in this, but that's a big issue, and that's really a future transportation corridor for our state.
I didn't think I'd ever see it in my lifetime. Did you?
No, I mean, when I was in high school, I never thought we would have electric vehicles, and we've got Nikola up in Phoenix and Pinal County who's building those huge trucks that are hydrogen electric. I mean, just incredible. Lucid Motors being built in Casa Grande, which is all electric vehicles, and just pretty incredible what's happened in that industry.
Well, there's approximately, Leah, 24,000 odd electric vehicles in Arizona. You are currently working with third parties in the legislature with regard to a very important factor, and that's called recharging. If you haven't got this thing, you might. There's going to be a lot of cars dead on the road otherwise. Is there anything to share on that area? Because I see this as the issue. Who's going to pony up? Where's the extra money going to come from? It's like pulling into a service station. There's one up there, there's one over there. Everybody thinks, oh, well, look, I just go home like my golf cart and I just stick this thing in and I recharge. But when you're out and about, that's another issue. So how are you working with that? What do you see coming down the line with that?
Yeah, there are a couple of things to think about. As the range that an electric vehicle can drive increases, we'll have more opportunity for charging at different times of the day. Right now, and I've seen data that 81% of electric vehicles are charged in the evening at home, which makes sense. You drive it around to work, you come home, you plug it in. The challenge is that's one of the most expensive times for electric usage.
That's peak time, isn't it?
Yeah, that's peak time. You think the sun has gone down or about to go down. Solar energy does not work then. Wind is not blowing as much. So you're pulling on kind of the reserves or other types of energy to fuel your vehicle. So how do we encourage people to charge, during the day? And so that takes charging near where they work, at their employment, or in, let's say, shopping centers and things of that nature. Well, then you run into the issue, who owns these, who invests in them, who operates them, how are people charged? And that's where we get involved, is the regulators, right? So we're in the middle of those debates now. How do you ensure that these charging stations are in rural Arizona and, along the freeways and in low-income neighborhoods and things? Because you don't want to build a structure that works now, it won't work in the future.
Well, that's right. Maybe corporations and companies would look at having a base, on their premises. And if workers could do it at that time when they're at work, their lunchtime, or maybe on the way, getting in the car to come home or something. Maybe that's got merit,
So we do have to shift that energy load to the daytime. So that's kind of where we're in the middle of that discussion and debate, and working with utility companies to figure out how best to do that.
Well, you mentioned that, was it Ford? 40 different vehicles?
Oh, General Motors.
General Motors.
Yeah, 40 different models they've got planned. They made that announcement about a month ago, and that's pretty exciting. I often hear, we know Teslas and cars like that are very expensive. So how do we get the cost of electric vehicles down to a point where an average family can own or operate one? And I think we're quite a ways from that so far. But with General Motors' announcement, and I've not seen the prices or what the models look like at this point, that'll be very exciting. And we'll probably see a lot more of the electric vehicles on the road at that point.
Well, we needed to do it. You know, China's not slow in coming forward. They've got 400 companies making electric vehicles. And I don't know our relationship down the road with this mob, but I tell you what, 400 companies. You think they'd be vying for business around the world?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
we need to compete somehow. That's the electric vehicles. Okay, now, as president, you've got a lot of things on your plate. You've talked about that. Now, you're also president of the National Association of Women Business Owners. This is the Greater Tucson chapter.
Yes.
NAWBO, is that right?
Yep, NAWBO.
NAWBO.
And NAWBO has been around in the country since about 1975. It represents, I think, over 11 million women-owned businesses throughout the nation. And in Tucson, our chapter started some 25 years ago and had grown over time and unfortunately had closed in about 2018. When I left the Tucson Hispanic Chamber, I launched my own public affairs firm and was going to start building that. And I reached out to find NAWBO. I thought I need a network of women business owners who will help kind of mentor me and help me grow and scale my business, and realized NAWBO was gone. So I reached out to National NAWBO, and with help of the friends that are now on the board of directors, we have relaunched. It's been about a year and a half, and really provide, I think, a network for the 50 some women we have now in the club, in the chapter, to work and help each other, especially through this pandemic. You know, those members we have that are retailers or sell a product, it's been very tough.
Right.
So we're providing any advice we can on how to pivot or change their business during the pandemic. And then we have some service-related companies that have done better, and trying to communicate the PPP loans and any programs and training and seminars out to our membership and other women business owners has been key. So obviously small business ownership is still a passion I have, and
well, let's face it, it's the salt of the earth, isn't it, Lea? Without small business, you know, in all the countries I've been in my travels over the years, I can't, you know, corporations that go overseas, pay no tax, don't agree with that. But you've always got the little battler, the little small business guy and woman. And you know what? They're all over the world, and they just seem to keep that wheel turning.
Yeah. And having to be creative and innovative and rebuild their business, especially after this last period of time.
So how does anybody who's interested in joining NAWBO, I beg your pardon, how do they go about that?
Yeah, they can go to NAWBOTucson.com, which is NAWBO Tucson.com, and see about our upcoming events. We have Membership Matters luncheons, virtual luncheons right now every month. We have virtual open houses every month. We're sharing a lot of information. So everything's virtual at this point. So maybe April, we're waiting to see if we can start having some face-to-face events at that point. We'll see. Right.
And then speaking of communication now, your position as chairwoman, of the Arizona Corporate Commission, you're very approachable. You're not locked away in a cage. I mean, you are a superstar in your own right, but you're very approachable. There is a website, folks, www.azcc.gov. There's a lot of information on that site. Now, what about if anybody would like to speak to you personally, contact you? Are they allowed?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yes. So azcc.gov, if you go on that homepage, the pictures of the 5 of us that are commissioners are right there. All you do is click on my photo and it sends me an email. So would love to hear from folks, ideas they might have if they work with a commission now and have ideas to streamline things. That's also very valuable.
Yeah.
But whatever I can do to help. I'm also getting out and about, as I mentioned, speaking to different Kiwanis groups or Rotaries or chambers. And so if folks would like me to come out and talk about Arizona's energy future or whatever particular part of the commission they'd like to hear, happy to do so. And they can email me again through that website, azcc.gov.
That's fantastic. That's very good, very approachable, and that's a good idea. Well, Lea Peterson, I'm very grateful. Thank you for the time. I know how busy you are, so to give me time here with Tucson Means Business, I think for the folks and for the Business Radio Network in Tucson, I want to thank you and good luck with your future career.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
You're most welcome. What a great lady. Lea Marquez-Peterson, ladies and gentlemen, chairwoman of the Arizona Corporate Commission, doing a sterling job, don't you think? I'm glad you enjoyed it. And, of course, it stays on Tucson Business RadioX permanently, as with their photo and a bio. And, of course, it's going out on all major popular podcast platforms across the country, which is around the world. So at any time at all, you've got access to this particular interview. And I would invite you to join us again soon, proudly brought to us, Tucson Business Radio, by the 49ers Golf and Country Club, the Hidden Desert Jewel, and, of course, the Rincon Grill is open. Food can be done, and takeaway or, within the rules. So find out. And, again, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you soon.